All right. Genesis 10. This is the history of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. From these, the inhabitants of the islands spread into their lands, according to their languages and their families and by their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, Sabteka. And Sabteka. The sons of Raama were Sheba and Dedan. Cush became father to Nimrod. He was the first to become a mighty one on the earth. He became a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah. That is why there is a saying, just like Nimrod, a mighty hunter in opposition to Jehovah. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, Calneh in the land of Shinar, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Kala, and Rezin, between Nineveh and Kala. This is the great city. Mizraim became father to Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Kasluhim, from whom the Philistines came, and Kaphtorim. Canaan became father to Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, as well as the Jebusite, the Amorite, the Girgashite, the Hivite, the Archite, the Sinite, the Arvadite, the Zemarite, and the Hamathite. Afterward, the family of the Canaanites were scattered. So the boundary of the Canaanites was from Sidon as far as Gerar, near Gaza, as far as Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim, near Lasha. These were the sons of Ham according to their families and their languages by their lands and their nations. Children were also born to Shem, the forefather of all the sons of Eber, and the brother of Japheth, the oldest. The sons of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arpachshad became father to Shelah, and Shelah became father to Eber. Two sons were born to Eber. The name of the one was Peleg, because in his lifetime the earth was divided. The name of his brother was Joktan. Joktan became father to Almadad, Shalef, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All of these were the sons of Joktan. Their place of dwelling extended from Mesha as far as Sephar, the mountainous region of the east. These were the sons of Shem, according to their families and their languages, by their lands and their nations. These were the families of the sons of Noah, according to their family lines and by their nations. From these, the nations were spread abroad in the earth after the flood. Genesis 11. Now all the earth continued to be of one language and of one set of words. As they traveled eastward, they discovered a valley plain in the land of Shinar, and they began dwelling there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them with fire." So they used bricks instead of stone and bitumen as mortar. They now said, "Come, let us build a city for ourselves and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a celebrated name for ourselves so that we will not be scattered over the entire face of the earth." Then Jehovah went down to the city and the tower that the sons of men had built. Jehovah then said, "Look, they are one people with one language, and this is what they have started to do. Now there is nothing that they may have in mind to do. Uh, Sorry, hold on. I have to go back. Now there is nothing that they may have in mind to do that will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language in order that they may not understand one another's language. So Jehovah scattered them from there over the entire face of the earth, and they gradually left off building the city. That is why it was named Babel, because there Jehovah confused the language of all the earth, and Jehovah scattered them from there over the entire face of the earth. This is the history of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became father to Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. After becoming father to Arpachshad, Shem continued to live 500 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Arpachshad lived for 35 years and then became father to Shelah. After becoming father to Shelah, Arpachshad continued to live 403 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Shelah lived for 30 years and then became father to Eber. After becoming father to Eber, Shelah continued to live 403 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Eber lived for 34 years and then became father to Peleg. After becoming father to Peleg, Eber continued to live for 430 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Peleg lived for 30 years, and then he became father to Reu. After becoming father to Reu, Peleg continued to live 209 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Reu lived for 32 years and then became father to Serug. After becoming father to Serug, Reu continued to live for 207 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Serug lived for 30 years and then became father to Nahor. After becoming father to Nahor, Serug continued to live 200 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Nahor lived for 29 years and then became father to Terah. After becoming father to Terah, Nahor continued to live 119 years, and he became father to sons and daughters. Terah lived for 70 years, after which he became father to Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the history of Terah. Terah became father to Abram, Nahor, and Haran became father to Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives for themselves. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah then took Abram his son and Lot his grandson, the son of Haran, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, the wife of Abram his son, and they went with him out of Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan. In time, they came to Haran and began dwelling there. The days of Terah were 205 years. Then Terah died in Haran. Genesis 12. And Jehovah said to Abram, "Go out from your land and away from your relatives and from the house of your father to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will become a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who calls down evil on you, and all the families of the ground will certainly be blessed by means of you." So Abram went just as Jehovah had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and Lot, the son of his brother, and all the goods that they had accumulated and the people whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan. When they reached the land of Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of Shechem, near the big tree of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Jehovah then appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I am going to give this land." So he built an altar there to Jehovah, who had appeared to him. Later he moved from there to the mountainous region east of Bethel, and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to Jehovah, and began to call on the name of Jehovah. Afterward, Abram broke camp and journeyed toward the Negeb, moving his camp from one place to another. Now a famine arose in the land, and Abram went down toward Egypt to reside there for a while, because the famine in the land was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, "Please listen, I know what a beautiful woman you are. So when the Egyptians see you, they will surely say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but keep you alive. Please say you are my sister, so that it may go well with me because of you, and my life will be spared." As soon as Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians noticed that the woman was very beautiful. And the princes of Pharaoh also saw her, and they began praising her to Pharaoh, so that the woman was taken to the house of Pharaoh. He treated Abram well because of her, and he acquired sheep, cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. Then Jehovah struck Pharaoh and his household with severe plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister,' so that I was about to take her as my wife? Here is your wife, take her and go." So Pharaoh gave his men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Genesis 13. One sec. Abram then went up out of Egypt to the Negeb, he and his wife and all that he had, together with Lot. Abram was very rich in livestock, silver, and gold. He camped in one place after another as he traveled from the Negeb to Bethel, until he arrived at the place where his tent had been between Bethel and Ai, to the place where he had previously built an altar. There Abram called on the name of Jehovah. Now Lot, who was traveling with Abram, also owned sheep, cattle, and tents. So the land did not allow for all of them to stay in the same place. Their goods had become so many that they could no longer dwell together. As a result, a quarrel arose between the herders of Abram's livestock and the herders of Lot's livestock. At that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were dwelling in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Please, there should be no quarreling between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not the whole land available to you? Please separate from me. If you go to the left, then I will go to the right. But if you go to the right, then I will go to the left." So Lot raised his eyes and saw that the whole district of the Jordan was a well-watered region, before Jehovah destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Jehovah, like the land of Egypt, as far as Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself the whole district of the Jordan, and Lot moved his camp to the east. So they separated from each other. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, but Lot lived among the cities of the district. Finally, he set up his tent near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, gross sinners against Jehovah. Jehovah said to Abram after Lot separated from him, "Raise your eyes, please, and look from the place where you are to the north and south, east and west, because all that you see I will give to you and to your offspring as a lasting possession. And I will make your offspring like the dust particles of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust particles of the earth, then your offspring could be counted. Get up, travel through the length of breadth and breadth of the land, for to you I am going to give it." So Abram continued to live in tents. Later he came and dwelled among the big trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron. There he built an altar to Jehovah. Genesis 14. Now in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim. These made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All of these joined forces at the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. They had served Chedorlaomer for 12 years, but they rebelled in the 13th year. So in the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and defeated the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shava Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their mountain of Seir, down to El-Paran, which is at the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En-Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites and also the Amorites, who were dwelling in Hazazontamar. At this point, the king of Sodom went on the march, and also the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, and they drew up in battle formation against them in the valley of Siddim, against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against the 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah tried to escape and fell into them, and those who remained fled to the mountainous region. Then the victors took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went on their way. They also took Lot, the son of Abram's brother, who was dwelling in Sodom, as well as his goods, and they continued on their way. After that, a man who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew. He was then dwelling among the big trees of Mamre the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and Aner. These men were allies of Abram. Thus Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive. With that, he mobilized his trained men, 318 servants born in his household, and went in pursuit up to Dan. During the night, he divided his forces, and he and his servants attacked and defeated them. And he pursued them up to Hobah, which is north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods, and he also recovered Lot, his relative, his goods, the women, and the other people. After Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him, the king of Sodom went out to meet Abram at the valley of Shavah, that is the valley of the king. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of the Most High God. Then he blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram by the Most High God, maker of heaven and earth, and praised be the Most High God, who has handed your oppressors over to you." And Abram gave him a tenth of everything. After that, the king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people, but take the goods for yourself." But Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I raise my hand in an oath to Jehovah, the Most High God, maker of heaven and earth, that I will not take anything that is yours, from a thread to a sandal lace, so that you may not say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will take nothing except what the young men have already eaten. As for the share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share." Genesis 15. After this, the word of Jehovah came to Abram in a vision, saying, "Do not fear, Abram. I am a shield for you. Your reward will be very great." Abram replied, "Sovereign Lord Jehovah, what will you give me, seeing that I continue childless, and the one who will inherit my house is a man of Damascus, Eliezer?" Abram added, "You have given me no offspring, and a member of my household is succeeding me as heir. But look, but Jehovah, but look, Jehovah's word in reply to him was, 'This man will not succeed you as heir, but your own son will succeed you as heir.' He now brought him outside and said, 'Look up, please, to the heavens and count the stars, if you are able to do so.' Then he said to him, 'So your offspring will become.' And he put faith in Jehovah, and he counted it to him as righteousness. Then he added, 'I am Jehovah, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land as your possession.' To this he said, 'Sovereign Lord Jehovah, how will I know that I will take possession of it?' He replied to him, 'Take for me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon.' So he took all these and cut them into two and put each part opposite the other. But he did not cut up the birds. Then the birds of prey began to descend on the carcasses, but Abram kept driving them away. When the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and a great and frightening darkness descended on him. Then he said to Abram, 'Know for certain that your offspring will be foreigners in a land not theirs, and that the people there will enslave them and afflict them for 400 years. But I will judge the nation they will serve, and after that they will go out with many goods. As for you, you will go to your forefathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. But they will return here in the 4th generation, because the error of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure.' When the sun had set and it had become very dark, a smoking furnace appeared, and a fiery torch passed between the pieces. On that day, Jehovah made with Abram a covenant, saying, 'To your offspring I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites.'" Genesis 16. Now Abram's wife Sarai had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "Please now, Jehovah has prevented me from bearing children. Please have relations with my servant. Perhaps I can have children by means of her." So Abram listened to what Sarai said. After Abram had lived for 10 years in the land of Canaan, Abram's wife Sarai took her Egyptian servant Hagar and gave her to her husband Abram as his wife. So he had relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. When she realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. At this, Sarai said to Abram, "The injury done to me is your fault. I was the one who put my servant in your arms. But when she realized that she was pregnant, she began to despise me. May Jehovah judge between me and you." So Abram said to Sarai, "Look, your servant is under your authority. Do to her whatever you think is best." Then Sarai humiliated her, and she ran away from her. Later, Jehovah's angel found her at a spring of waters in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going?" To this she said, "I am running away from my mistress Sarai." Jehovah's angel then said to her, "Return to your mistress and humble yourself under her hand." Then Jehovah's angel said, "I will greatly multiply your offspring, so that they will become too numerous to count." Jehovah's angel added, "Here you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son, and you must name him Ishmael, for Jehovah has heard your affliction. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him, and he will dwell opposite all his brothers." Then she called on the name of Jehovah, who was speaking to her. "You are a God of sight," for she said, "Here I have actually looked upon the one who sees me." Or have I here actually looked upon the one who sees me? That is why the well was called Be'er Lahai. It is between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore to Abram a son, and Abram named his son, whom Hagar bore, Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to him. Genesis 17. When Abram was 99 years old, Jehovah appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am God Almighty. Walk before me and prove yourself faultless. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you very, very much." At this, Abram fell face down, and God continued to speak with him, saying, "As for me, look, my covenant is with you, and you will certainly become a father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram. Your name will become Abraham. For I will make you a father of many nations. I will make you very, very fruitful, and will make you become nations, and kings will come from you. And I will keep my covenant between me and you and your offspring after you throughout their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and to your offspring after you. And I will give to you and to your offspring after you the land in which you lived as a foreigner, the entire land of Canaan, for a lasting possession, and I will be their God." God said further to Abraham, "As for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your offspring, after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant between me and you, that you and your offspring after you will keep. Every male among you must get circumcised. You must circumcise the flesh of your foreskins, and it will serve as a sign of the covenant between me and you. Throughout your generations, every male among you 8 days old must be circumcised. Anyone who is born in the house, and anyone who is not, of one of your offspring, and who was purchased with money from a foreigner, every man born in your house, and every man purchased with your money must be circumcised. And my covenant in your flesh must serve as a lasting covenant. If any uncircumcised male will not circumcise the flesh of his foreskin, that person must be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant." Then God said to Abraham, "As for your wife Sarai, you must not call her Sarai, because Sarah will become her name. I will bless her and also give you a son by her. I will bless her, and she will become nations. Kings of peoples will come from her." At this, Abraham fell face down and began to laugh and to say in his heart, "Will a man 100 years old have a child born to him? And will Sarah, a woman 90 years old, give birth?" So Abraham said to the true God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." To this God said, "Your wife Sarah will definitely bear you a son, and you must name him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant to his offspring after him. But as regards Ishmael, I have heard you. Look, I will bless him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him very, very much. He will produce 12 chieftains, and I will make him become a great nation. However, I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you at this appointed time next year." When God finished speaking with him, he went up from Abraham. Abraham then took Ishmael, his son, and all the men born in his house, and everyone he had purchased with money, every male in the household of Abraham, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskins on that very day, just as God had spoken with him. Abraham was 99 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised, and Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he had the flesh of his foreskin circumcised. On that very day, Abraham was circumcised, and also his son Ishmael. All the men of his household, anyone born in the house, and anyone purchased with money from a foreigner, were also circumcised with him. Genesis 18. Afterward, Jehovah appeared to him among the big trees of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of the tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and saw 3 men standing some distance from him. When he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground. Then he said, "Jehovah, if I have found favor in your eyes, please do not pass by your servant. Please let a little water be brought and have your feet washed. Then recline under the tree. Seeing that you have come here to your servant, let me bring a piece of bread so that you may refresh yourselves. Then you may go on your way." At this they said, "All right, you may do as you have spoken." So Abraham hurried to the tent to Sarah and said, "Quick, get 3 measures of fine flour, knead the dough, and make loaves of bread." Next, Abraham ran to the herd and chose a tender and good young bull. He gave it to the attendant, who hurried to prepare it. He then took butter and milk and the young bull that he had prepared and set food before them. Then he stood by them under the tree as they were eating. They said to him, "Where is your wife, Sarah?" He replied, "Here in the tent." So one of them continued, "I will surely return to you next year at this time, and look, your wife Sarah will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the tent entrance, which was behind the man. Abraham and Sarah were old, being advanced in years. Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah began to laugh to herself, saying, "After I am worn out, and my Lord is old, will I really have this pleasure?" Then Jehovah said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Am I really going to give birth even though I am old?' Is anything too extraordinary for Jehovah? I will return to you next year at this appointed time, and Sarah will have a son." But Sarah denied it, saying, "I did not laugh," for she was afraid. At this he said, "Yes, you did laugh." When the men got up to leave and looked down towards Sodom, Abraham was walking with them to escort them. Jehovah said, "Am I keeping hidden from Abraham what I am going to do? Why, Abraham is surely going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by means of him. For I have come to know him in order that he may command his sons and his household after him to keep Jehovah's way by doing what is right and just, so that Jehovah may bring about what he has promised concerning Abraham." Then Jehovah said, "The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is very heavy. I will go down to see whether they are acting according to the outcry that has reached me, and if not, I can get to know it." Then the men left from there and went towards Sodom, but Jehovah remained with Abraham. Then Abraham approached and said, "Will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous men within the city. Will you then sweep them away and not pardon the place for the sake of the 50 righteous who are inside it? It is unthinkable that you would act in this manner by putting the righteous man to death with the wicked one, so that the outcome for the righteous man and the wicked is the same. It is unthinkable of you. Will the judge of all the earth not do what is right?" Then Jehovah said, "If I find in Sodom 50 righteous men in the city, I will pardon the whole place for their sake." But Abraham again responded, "Please, here I have presumed to speak to Jehovah, whereas I am dust and ashes. Suppose the 50 righteous should lack 5. Because of the 5, will you destroy the whole city?" To this he said, "I will not destroy it if I find there 45. But yet again he spoke to him and said, "Suppose 40 are found there." He answered, "I will not do it for the sake of the 40. But he continued, "Jehovah, please do not become hot with anger, but let me go on speaking. Suppose only 30 are found there." He answered, "I will not do it if I find there 30 there." But he continued, "Please, here I presume to speak to Jehovah. Suppose only 20 are found there." He answered, "I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. Finally, he said, "Jehovah, please do not become hot with anger, but let me speak just once more." Suppose only 10 are found there. He answered, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. When Jehovah finished speaking to Abraham, he went his way, and Abraham returned to his place. End of AV2.